Update 1.2.3 is right around the corner. In just a few days' time, we will have some new things to tackle, and hopefully that will stretch out the time in between until Forsaken drops in early September. Now, there are a few changes coming in Update 1.2.3, as well as some huge open world changes in Forsaken. So let's dive in and take a look at all the news from this past week. Guardians, what is going on, guys? Sly here, back at it with Destiny 2 news. With Anthem slowing down for the summertime and Destiny ramping back up, it's time to switch paces. That is, until we get some more Anthem news. But right now, Destiny is mere days away from a pretty big update. And on top of that, we have some new news concerning some more epic changes coming to Forsaken. So let's dive into all of it right here, right now. Okay, so starting with Update 1.2.3, Bounties will be making a comeback, something I am very excited about. So Bounties will be similar to those found in the Taken King in terms of things to do to complete them. However, they will adopt the same system, similar to what we had at the end of Destiny 1 and Rise of Iron. Each vendor will have their own set of bounties to complete, and generally speaking, they will award faction reputation and XP to that specific vendor. However, they won't all be that boring. Some will drop rewards. Now, Bungie hasn't completely said how the system will work in terms of loot, but I suspect it will be all sorted out here in a few days' time once everything goes live. One thing that is clear is that we no longer have to go back to the tower to turn them in, similar like, Rise of Iron. Once they're done, you can simply finish them in the field, and assuming your inventory isn't full, access your reward the instant it drops, if one does drop. Again, we don't know which bounties will drop loot, while others only XP, but I'm sure we'll know here soon enough. The big changes, however, are coming with Forsaken. First up, exotic bounties will be making a comeback. Now, I used to love exotic bounties in Destiny 1, and now we get to see them once again. Also within Forsaken, rare bounties will be dropping out in the open world itself, which adds an additional layer of things to do within the open world. We'll talk about that more here in a second. So it seems that the bounty system is being injected into Destiny here in a few days with Update 1.2.3. However, it won't really kick off until Forsaken. Now, there are a couple of changes here. One thing I used to do all the time to get ready for a new DLC to drop was stack up on completed bounties and then turn them in the day the DLC went live for all that XP. For example, in the Taken King, I hit max level in 15 seconds as soon as I got on, just from turning in old bounties. Well, it seems this will not be the case anymore. There are only a couple of changes here, but more might be coming. So first up, bounties will cost a bit of glimmer to buy. And the other big one is that once you have an unfinished bounty, that will expire. So if you pick up a bounty and haven't touched on it at all, or if you have completed it to 99% and then you just let it sit there, that bounty will self-expire, and then you're pretty much effed. So storing bounties will become a thing of the past. So no real earth-shattering changes, but it is a change. What I'm really looking forward to are the rare bounty drops and the exotic ones. That's what I'm most excited for. Rare bounties that only drop in the open world make me actually want to go out there and do things in it, which is another big topic we're going to talk about, the open world in Forsaken. Along with the crazy amounts of changes coming within Forsaken, the open world is getting a pretty big boost as well. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with Game Informer's coverage of Forsaken, then definitely check out the link below because it is pretty freaking awesome what they've covered so far. So the goal in Forsaken is to get players to explore the open world more often. The Dreaming City is all I personally need, but the rest of the areas do need a bit of incentive. Well, just like how the Taken overran all the areas within Destiny 1 when the Taken King launched, the main enemies in Forsaken will be doing the exact same thing. So expect to see lots of scorn over every destination in Destiny 2. Also, on top of Baron hunts taking place in various areas, there will be an endgame VIP bounty hunt. Now, for those who played the Division, think back to HVT enemies we used to have to buy from those two vendors. Well, HVTs is pretty much the exact same thing that's going to be happening in Destiny 2 Forsaken. They are called Outlaws, criminals who have escaped the Prison of Elders and now roam all the destinations within Destiny. There will also be a new vendor coming into play called Spider. Spider is a fallen leader, but has allied himself with the Vanguard in order to help him take out these baddies. There are various difficulties within these HVTs, with a few of them being extremely hard to finish. Again, this takes place far after the campaign is over, and it also takes place across all the different planets and moons of Destiny 2. Each week will be a new list generated and new enemies eliminated. There are 4 tiers of difficulty in total. The first 3 can be, these outlaws can be anywhere at any time in these first 3 categories. And according to Game Informer, they only hint as to where these enemies will be located. You actually have to go out and find them yourself. So they could be side bosses within Flashpoint public events like the Warhound in the EDZ or the Gigantic Shank on Titan, or they could be like, side bosses within a certain strike. Perhaps inside of a bounty or a patrol, even within Gambit. You never know where they will appear, and tracking them down will supposedly pay handsomely. Your Triumph page within the inventory screen will keep track of all the outlaws that you've taken down so far. However, once you've cleared out the first 3 tiers, the 4th tier will unlock, and these are known as Outlaw Lost Sectors. These Lost Sectors are completely revamped with much harder enemies and a boss that resembles more of a strike-like boss than a regular Lost Sector boss. According to Game Informer, Outlaw Lost Sectors are an extreme endgame activity, and each Lost Sector will have different mechanics that you're going to have to get through. Some are easier than others, but apparently there are a couple that are pretty damn tough. Of course, the higher the tier, the better the reward should be. Also, it could be possible that this spider character will come with its own set of weapons and armor, kind of like, the spider faction, I guess you can call it. So for doing all of these, outlaws, it could actually rank you up with Spider and drop certain rewards like, better weapons, a completely different set of armor. We really don't know, but that could be the case. So it could lead to a lot of awesome loot for everyone. Alright guys, our next changes coming will be flashpoints. Now I personally like the flashpoint milestone, but it has gotten old over the year and it sucks if it's on Mercury. Well, Forsaken plans on changing how flashpoints work, and again, this is a part of the wider scope of changes coming to the open world itself. So flashpoints, they're usually just a public event farm, right? You complete as many public events as fast as possible, and then you simply move on to your next character. However, in Forsaken, you can complete the flashpoint by doing a number of things. You can now complete lost sectors, bounties, patrols, public events. All of this will count toward completing your flashpoint. On top of that, lost sectors are also getting a bit of change as well. Now, I've always liked the idea of a lost sector, right? Like little dungeons tucked away in some long forgotten hole that sits, in the middle of nowhere. Well, one thing I didn't like is that they were labeled. I mean, how awesome would it be if you just, had to randomly find them? You're stumbling along in this small cave, and next thing you know, this huge thing opens up with some mega boss at the end. I mean, they're still going to be labeled in Forsaken, but I thought, unlabeling them would be cool, and I was hoping they would do that. Well, unfortunately, they are not. But Bungie is making some changes to them. The details are still a bit sketchy because they're still being worked on, and they're still exactly working on how they plan on changing them, but from what I've read, there are a couple of things. First, small mechanics will come into play along with better rewards and a harder challenge. However, on top of revamping all of the normal lost sectors, there will be a few of them that stand out above the rest. I'm assuming there will be one per location, but they weren't too specific with what these special lost sectors are called. And now in the video of Game Informer, they called them saloons. They are a longer and more challenging version than your everyday lost sector. Now it's important not to get these mixed up with outlaw lost sectors. Those will be end game activities. The newer lost sectors are made to be better in terms of teamwork, rewards, length, and difficulty. It's just that a few of them will be harder and larger than all of the rest. And also they can be accessed at any time because they're in the open world. You don't have to have a quest active or be doing anything special in order to access them. Again, another piece of the whole when it comes to making Forsaken's open world more exciting and a more fulfilling place to play. Once you add in bounties, Baron hunts, outlaws, better and harder lost sectors, public events, I really think the open world is going to be a much better place to play. Add on top of the fact that open world, enemies can drop, exotic catalysts and exotic bounties, it's going to be pretty freaking awesome. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about, and it's probably a little bit of old news by now, but the weekly reset. Coming in Forsaken, some activities will reset more than just once per week. So Bungie's pretty much trying to put less emphasis on milestones and more emphasis on things to focus on in-game, like bounties, Baron hunts, outlaws, lost sectors, patrols, etc. With that, the Nightfall, Crucible, Gambit, and Flashpoint locations will reset every 4 days. So instead of just one reset every 7, we will now have a reset twice per week in those milestones. Assumingly, the raid and challenges will still be weekly or every 8 days. So that's going to double the amount of things to complete each week when Forsaken drops, something I think is a really, really good idea. Alright guys, and finally, let's go over a couple of things coming this Tuesday in Update 123. first, let's talk about the Prestige raids. Now, for those who watched my last video talking about the Prestige raids, I said that both Spire and EOW will be launching at the same time. At the time I uploaded that video, it was true. However, due to player demand, Bungie is now delaying Spire of Stars a full day in order to get all the groups a chance at Worlds First and not have to pick one or the other. So Prestige Eater of Worlds will go live at 11 AM Pacific on July 17th. That is 2 PM if you live on the East Coast. Prestige Spire of Stars will go live the following day on July 18th at 10 AM Pacific, which is 1 PM Eastern, 1 PM East Coast. So if you haven't heard that yet, then I'm glad you're watching this video. Remember, Prestige Eater of Worlds will go live the first day 123 is out, which is July 17th. The following day, Spire of Stars. So if you want to do both of them and have it run, Worlds First, that is absolutely a possibility. Alright guys, next, starting next week, the Prismatic Matrix will be coming to an end. So if you have any shards left, use them so you can finalize your collection, because the Prismatic Matrix menu is coming to a close next week and it will pick back up next season. So again, if you have some shards, might as well use them until the following season picks back up. Alright guys, and finally, the last thing to talk about are those changing modifiers. Apparently, some modifiers were a little too powerful. So first up, Momentum. It has been removed from all heroic adventures. Hooray for that. Next up, Blackout. I mean, Blackout is absolutely brutal, man. And it's even a one-hit kill if you have an overshield with max armor and you're in your super. It doesn't matter, you're dead. So with that, Blackout is going to be changing up a little. It will still increase enemy melee damage significantly, but it will be tailored to the amount of armor you have and what your power level is at. If you're injured in any way, you will still die from a melee. But if you're at full health with max armor and you're a high power level, more than likely you will be able to survive one hit. The full details aren't known as of right now, but just know that it is coming down a little. Next up, Grounded. Now this one actually annoyed me the most. Stub your toe on a rock and you pop up an inch, you get shot, you die. Have a jumping puzzle, you get shot, you die. You fall down to complete a level, you die. So the engine pretty much thinks you're jumping anytime your feet leave the ground. No matter if it's 10 feet or 1 millimeter. It takes that as you're in the air, and so Grounded kicks in. It was extremely annoying, and now Bungie's reducing the damage threshold in order to account for things like that or taking too much fall damage. I personally think that if you just made it not kick in until you're like a full foot off the ground, that should fix like 90% of the complaints. But they know better than me, so apparently Grounded will be a lot better and a lot more friendly to use. Alright guys, and the last one to talk about, Glass. Another modifier that can make things pretty tough. So Glass is changing slightly as well. They're backing off the amount of reduction of health and shields, but that's really about it. The full patch notes will have lots to talk about, so keep an eye out for that when the time comes. But Guardians, that is really about it. Forsaken looks to be pretty freaking epic, and I really cannot wait to get my hands on it. But for now, let's focus on update 123 and see how these Prestige raids play out. I'll have full guides up for those when the time comes, so make sure you guys keep an eye out for that. Alright guys, that's it for me. As always, thank you for watching and for supporting the nation. Feel free to check me out on Twitter or Facebook at SlyNation or SlyNation Gaming on the FB. Subscribe for tons more Destiny 2 Forsaken and Anthem coverage. Spank the thumbs up only if you enjoyed yourself, and comment down below if you're awesome or if you just want to say what's up. Take care y'all, and keep those eyes peeled for more vids coming out soon, but until then, this is your dude Sly, and I'll catch you all next time.